What's up, stars? In today's video, we will talk about 2023 American science fiction thriller film Hypnotic. This story tells of a detective named Danny Rourke. He went to visit his therapist because he just lost his only daughter. Then Danny recalls his 7-year-old daughter, Minnie. At that time, Danny asked her daughter to play in a park. However, Danny didn't pay attention to his daughter for a while, and suddenly when he turned around, Minnie was no longer in the park, and until now, Minnie had not been found. The perpetrator had been arrested, but he was not sentenced for having a mental illness. Therefore, he was released. Meanwhile, Minnie was still not found. After getting the therapy, Danny got a call on duty with his partner, Nix. They have received an anonymous tip-off call that a safe deposit box at a bank will be robbed. Nix says that the last few days there has been the same bank robbery, but in a different branch. But strangely, the robber was targeting a safe deposit box that did not contain money, and this time, the robber was also targeting the safe deposit box. When they arrived, Danny and Nix got into a van to look around. Initially, all seemed fine, until then. They saw a suspicious man. The man was Delrain, who was very skilled at using hypnosis. He had just hypnotized a woman so that she felt very hot. Then he also succeeded in hypnotizing the bank security guard. Feeling that he had found the culprit, Danny rushed into the deposit box room by pretending to make an account, but to his surprise, the contents of the safe deposit box that Delrain was after was a photo of Minnie, Danny's daughter. Turns out Delrain was already in the bank. The security guard, who had been hypnotized earlier, immediately started rioting there. Meanwhile, a bank employee who had been hypnotized was asked by Delrain to take the deposit box he was targeting. Danny, who ran into a bank employee, then held her at gunpoint, but strangely, the bank employee did not seem to care about it. Then, 2 security guards came and immediately shot Danny. Luckily, Danny survived because he was wearing a bulletproof vest. The bank employee and 2 security guards then left. Meanwhile, the woman who had previously been hypnotized by Delrain stripped her clothes in the middle of the road and immediately made a mess. The car that the bank employee was riding in was also involved in an accident. Then Delrain took the deposit box and planted a bomb. Danny saw Delrain run, then immediately chased him. Delrain was cornered and about to be handcuffed by 2 of Danny's friends, but as it turns out, Delrain hypnotized the 2 guys so they would shoot Danny. After that, Danny asked about his daughter's photo in the deposit box. However, Delrain didn't answer it and jumped from the top of the building. When Danny checked it, Delrain had disappeared and Danny's colleagues shot each other because they had been hypnotized. After Delrain's disappearance, Nix said that all the witnesses did not remember anything that happened because they had been hypnotized by Delrain. Danny thought that Delrain had kidnapped his daughter because Danny found a photo of his daughter in the deposit box targeted by Delrain. At night, Nix called Danny to report something. He got the location of an anonymous caller who reported the previous bank robbery. The location was in a therapy facility which uses hypnosis. At that place, Danny met a fortune teller and owner of the place, Diana Cruz. Danny then conveyed his intent and purpose for coming to that place. Danny said that he wanted to investigate someone named Delrain, but as soon as she heard the name Delrain, Diana was terrified and immediately asked Danny to leave. As it turned out, Delrain had come and hypnotized Diana's friend who was outside. Therefore, Diana's friend crashed into the house. After the incident, Diana was taken to the police station to be interrogated. It turns out that the incident just now, and also the previous riot at the bank, were the result of a hypnotic ability that was abused by Delrain. Diana knew a lot about hypnosis because she was a hypnotist. Delrain and Diana came from the same hypnosis division. But Delrain, who was very strong, then became evil because he was the most powerful hypnotist among the members. So Diana and the other hypnotists tried to stop Delrain. Nix, who was there, did not believe in hypnosis and all of Diana's words. Then Diana immediately showed her abilities and succeeded in hypnotizing Nix easily. Nix then went out, and Delrain was already there. And he hypnotized Nix very quickly. The lights suddenly went out. Nix with his gun rushed to finish off Diana. Diana told Danny to run away, because Nix was under the hypnotic effect and he would not be able to regain consciousness. before doing what he had been told. Nix managed to be handcuffed, but he still tried to take the gun even though it hurt his own hand. Forced, Diana shot Nix right in the head until he's dead. Nick's death makes Danny and Diana fugitives as they are accused of killing Nick. This time, they both intended to go to Mexico to meet someone who could stop Del Rey. A sheriff then comes, and he realizes Diana and Danny's presence. But quickly, Diana managed to hypnotize the sheriff. But suddenly, Del Rey contacted Diana using the sheriff's radio, saying that he had arrived at the same bar. And sure enough, at the front bar, Del Rey with 2 policemen had surrounded Danny and Diana. Like it or not, Danny ran away to distract the police. Unfortunately, Danny was cornered. But luckily, Diana and the hypnotized sheriff managed to help him. On the way, Diana said that Danny was someone who was not easily hypnotized by her. That's because Danny has a psychic barrier and it was obtained by him, because he lost his child. The only person who can hypnotize Danny was Del Rey, because he had powerful hypnosis. On the way, they were stopped because there was a police patrol, but then again, with Diana's skills, they could continue their journey without being suspected. And finally, they both arrived in Mexico. They met with Diana's old friend, who is also a hypnotist, Jeremiah. There, Jeremiah finally said that Del Rey is seeking Domino, a powerful weapon developed by the division. This Domino could use the most powerful hypnosis. Among other hypnotists, the Domino project maker divided it into several parts and kept it in a safe deposit box at several banks. Del Rey became even stronger if he had some parts of the Domino, but to their surprise, Jeremiah turns out to be Del Rey, who then hypnotizes them both so that they see Jeremiah. Danny and Diana then rushed away, and as it turned out, all the local residents there had been hypnotized by Del Rey to block them. They were both cornered and several police came. But when they were about to be arrested, surprisingly, Danny could use hypnosis, and he managed to catch Del Rey. Danny was confused because suddenly he could use hypnotism. And this time, he asked for Diana's help to find a bright spot in all of this. Shortly, Diana and Danny met Diana's old friend River. River was a hacker, so he's trying to help Danny by finding Danny's wife's data. Danny was surprised because his wife was still alive, and she was a member of the same hypnosis division as Diana. Shortly thereafter, Danny got a call from Del Rey, who tried to hypnotize him via telephone and asked him to kill Diana. Luckily, Danny was still conscious and Diana could still be saved, while Diana and River were sleeping. Danny investigates River's database himself and discovers that Minnie is Domino, and Diana is Danny's wife. Danny thinks Diana has already taken his daughter, while Diana accuses Danny of having taken Minnie. Not only that, all this time, the two of them were in different rooms because all this time, Danny had been hypnotized. Everyone involved so far turns out to be members of the Hypnosis division, who are trying to find Minnie's whereabouts through Danny. Danny then came out and saw all the property that had been used for him to make it seem as if he was in that place, whereas all of that is just acting and scenarios. This was done so that Danny could tell Minnie's location, which he had been hiding all this time. Danny finally realized, and still chose not to tell her daughter's location, even though the division members forced him. Del Rey then repeats the scenario from the beginning, starting when Danny was at the psychiatrist, even though at that time he was being hypnotized. Everything went smoothly and the same as before at the beginning of the film, but at the scene when Danny's going to enter the bank, he wakes up and tries to escape from there. Besides, Diana finally realizes that Del Rey is not a person's name, but a place name which was deliberately written by Danny, so that he can remember the location of his daughter. In short, Danny had arrived at the farm owned by his adoptive parents. That's where Danny left his daughter. Now Minnie has grown up because Danny hasn't visited her in a long time. Del Rey and the rest of the division arrived armed. Danny's adoptive mother, who tried to block them, died from being shot by a member of the division. Not long after, Danny and Minnie left the house. Minnie then makes all the division members kill each other with her overpowering hypnotic abilities. But it turned out they weren't at the farm. But all that was just property that had been set up to lure the division members. And they were all successfully hypnotized with Minnie's abilities. Del Ring finally kills himself. Finally. It was revealed that Danny and Diana were members of the strongest division. One day, they had a daughter, Minnie, who inherited the strength of her parents. However, Minnie was stronger. The division realized it, and they intended to use Minnie as a strong weapon. However, Danny and Diana didn't accept that. Therefore, Danny and Diana then entrusted Minnie to Danny's adoptive parents' house. Meanwhile, Danny and Diana reset their own memory. As if Danny was a detective, the photo Danny found in the deposit box earlier was his own doing, so he could remember the location of his daughter. After all the division members were killed, Danny's family can finally be free from the Hypnosis division. However, in the post-credits scene, Del Ring is still alive because he managed to disguise himself as Danny's adoptive father, while the real Danny's adoptive father had died after shooting himself, and the film ended.